And let me hand over the proceedings to the best in business, that is Dr. Samantha Rathnayake, to do the session summing up. He is the head of technical sessions and faculty member and a management consultant at the Postgraduate Institute of Management at the University of Sri Tribhuvan. Dr. Samantha Rathnayake, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Dilhan. Well, first of all, let me extend a big thank to all the distinguished panelists, presenters, and the speakers. Professor Lakshmana Vatavada leading in the front, and still he's like on the course. So my task is, as the head of the technical aspects, to look at the summing up. So I would take two folds for that. The first part is, let me use a term which is familiar with us. This is PCR. Now, the PCR test is, which is very familiar to us. That is the polymerase chain reaction, which is the antibody testing and looking at whether we are in the COVID-19 positive or negative. So if I use the same acronym in a management point of view, in a leadership point of view, which is called as a philosophical contented realist test. So let me clarify. So the philosophical means if you look at the simple meaning of philosophical is about relating or devoted to a particular study or a phenomena in terms of looking at the nature of knowledge, reality, existence, and so on. So that is a philosophical side. If you look at the contented side, that is the more or less the meaning is, of course, asserting something as a position in an argument or looking at struggle to surmount in a difficulty. So that's the contented meaning. So if you look at the realist, the meaning is a person who accepts a situation as it is and is prepared to deal with accordingly. So that's a name. So if you look at this in my first area, the old philosophers would like to ask three fundamental questions. What is the reality? So what is the expected situation? Of course, what is the kind of, in that realistic point of view, what is the desired good life which you are looking at? And who am I? So like, what is our proposition? So that is a philosophical approach. If you look at the content, that is more strategic. So any strategic point of view, fundamentally, four questions. It's about how to grow, how to defend, what are the competitive moves, and what is our unique value proposition. So that is the content, more strategic aspect. So if you look at realist, it's entrepreneurial. So the entrepreneurial is all about connecting the dots, getting things as it is, and going for the new, risky, the innovative area. So having used that, may I couple these three and ask, in terms of the philosophical contented realist test means, in our organizational fronts, in our working fronts, in our national to down the line to the micro level, so are we having that PCR test, not that COVID-19 test? So with that, may I draw your attention to the three spheres that we have discussed throughout the day in this international conference. So if you look at the philosophical side, so here I'm not going to focus on the panelists or the speakers. I would take their ideas. So the core philosophical argument, the key articulation is that we should have our thinking in terms of 21st century leadership, triple bottom line execution, thinking, application, strategic corporate sustainability agenda, scientific based decisions. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we should ask a question that have we got our philosophy right? Have we got our thinking on science base? Are we aligning and revisiting our policies based on scientific approaches? So that is the philosophical basket. So if you look at the content aspect, that's the strategic aspect, where the customer behavior domain changes, the sources of funds aspect, building technology. So it has been discussed about virtual spaces and work setting, work-life balance aspects, digital literacy domain, cyber leadership, and of course, during the discussion, it was highlighted that precision agriculture. So all these are the questions we need to ask in our working fronts: how to grow, how to defend. So what are our competitive moves in terms of our business versus others, from a country's point of view, from a regional, from the micro organizational, individual level. And of course, we should ask the question: how is our unique value proposition? So that those are the strategic aspects, contented aspects. If we look at the realistic aspect, that is the entrepreneurial aspect, where we need to revisit and relook at, and multiple opportunities gallow in terms of supply chain developments, digital transformation aspects, SME development, particularly in the export development domains. The very much highlighted that agriculture to agri-tech in the future. So how that contribution can made a big role. Human resource management, human resource development, alignment, realignment, women in entrepreneurship. So if you look at all these three, ladies and gentlemen, so may I ask a question that how is our PCR? So are we looking at that as a one basket? So in our working fronts, in this COVID-19 transition, one can say transition. Now it has been discussed that it will take another 1-2 years or so. So that means post-COVID-19 is coming up. So it's a transition. It's a health pandemic. So in such situation, so are we going to look at this entire ecosystem holistically? So it was very much discussed about the approach is in line in terms of collaborative, synergistic, integrative, rethinking, redesigning, realignment, and so on. So that means in a PCR test, in a COVID scenario, we look at whether infected or not. It doesn't mean that you are a patient or not. The point here is that in emerging disruptions and the implications for business point of view, so we need to look at the fact that how we are going to see our philosophical alignment, contented strategic questions of those fundamental questions, and entrepreneurial approach. So if you are going to do that, so that is the core one integrated basket of thinking, which we would like to take it forward. So with that, may I conclude my summing up speech for today. So within that parameters, we are going to further look at this, how the managing and leading aspect coming up for tomorrow's as well. And we would like to further establish how the PCR test is in the card. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samantha Rathnayake, for that wonderful summing up of the session. So with that, we come to the conclusion of the first day of CPM International Management Conference. Before we wind up, let me kindly remind you that we will be sending you a feedback form to your inboxes. So you are expected rather to respond back to us, so that will enrich our value of events and activities in future. And that's very good feedback for everyone to analyze where we stand as well. Apart from that, do not forget to join us tomorrow as well at the same time. And if you do that, you will be able to earn your digital certificate, the valuable one offered by CPM, as well as earn your all important CPD credits as well. For the non-members, feel free to contact CPM Director Mr. Dirshan Alsapuraratna for new memberships. And that is also an important message we want to do. We want to enhance our opportunity provided to all future leaders of this country, all professionals to enroll with us, and we can enrich the value that we offer to the society and the world at large. Having said that, let me conclude by saying a good day to all of you, and have a pleasant time until we join yet again tomorrow. Thank you very much.